Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman. And today we're going to discuss how to get started with actually shadowing people. So many episodes, at some time in the past, we mentioned that shadowing people and solving their problems is a great thing to do, but we never really discussed how you actually do that. And so, this is one of those things where we've done it so many times in the past that it's clear and obvious to us, or maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So we thought we'd go through how you actually go about shadowing people, solving their problems, and doing that whole executing that idea. So I come from larger companies. Typically, I've not worked at any startup-sized place. So my typical shadowing is usually when I start a new job. So my plate is clear, right? I've got lots of time on my hands. And I talk to my manager. I say, hey, let me spend some time shadowing the people that I'm going to be writing software for, so that I can understand the current system, how they use it, and the things that they would like, and probably get a quick win of fixing some low-hanging fruit, so that, hey, I'm the new guy, and now they like me already, and get some good camaraderie. So I would ask my manager, and my manager would reach out to somebody in operations, because typically I'm writing operational software, and the operations manager would say, oh yes, go shadow these two people. They're great people. They're really good workers, and they know the system, and they can give you lots of good feedback. So then I set up a meeting with them. I explain what I'm going to do. And then literally I sit behind them. I pull up a chair and I sit behind them for an hour or two, and I watch them and I talk to them about what they're doing and why, and I write down their complaints. Let me pause there, because I'm running through the whole thing. Isaac, you've been working at smaller companies. How does it work for you? How do you get started?
I'd say it's pretty much the same thing, but less steps for the small companies. Generally speaking, first I need to understand. I guess to make a good impression, what you're trying to do is to look around and see whose problem you can solve, any kind of impact that you can make that makes somebody's lives easier. Mm-hmm. I forget which podcast I listened to recently, but they were saying that solving your boss's problems is kind of key there, or at least making him feel like the problem is taken care of. So find out what those problems are, and then how to solve them is, generally speaking, reaching out to the people who are doing those things, seeing how they're doing those tasks, and find out if there's ways that you can do them better, faster. Because a lot of times people haven't reflected on their current process. They're just doing it because they've been taught it. And then if someone else can step in and see how they're doing it, they could think, oh, well, maybe there's an easier way we can do it. We can automate parts of your process. So that's the kind of the first reflection part. And then the next part for me, since our company is pretty small, is, by small I mean less than 100 people.
Okay.
I'll either reach out to somebody directly and say, hey, I'm kind of curious to know what your daily process is. For example, refunds at our current company apparently were tricky. A lot of the refunds had to be done manually instead of by an automated process because of some reason. And I was like, well, what reason is that? How many hours do you lose per day manually executing refunds? Is it just because of this weird tricky case where an automated thing couldn't refund it for whatever reason? That was some issue in the past that maybe we can fix. Or maybe they were taught to do it this way in the past because the way they refund that has to happen manually only happens once a week. And then maybe now it happens 500 times a week because we've grown. And
right.
Maybe we can reflect on that and take away all the extra work they do. So I'll reach out to somebody on the operations team and say, hey, I'm curious to know about our refunding issues where people are spending a lot of time manually doing stuff. Is there anything I can do to help? Or who's the best person for me to reach out to who knows all the stuff about refunds, who can get me caught up to speed with roughly how much time is lost each week doing this manually versus how much time it would take me to come in and automate it.
Yeah. So I guess similar thing where you reach out to kind of the customers of your software.
Right.
Whether if it's a big company, you probably have to have your manager talk to their manager. If it's a small company, you can probably...
My people will reach out to your people.
Have my people talk to your people. like the last time I did this, I was at a company that had 500 operations people, and
Wow.
I just had no idea who I would reach out to. I didn't even know which manager I would reach out to, like which groups. So it was one of those.
In that case, like what problem originally were you trying to solve that made you think that you should reach out to somebody to solve the problem to begin with?
So in this case, I was working for a mortgage company. I
Mm-hmm.
had never worked for a mortgage company before. I'd never done any of that software, and so I didn't know anything about it. Right?
Ah,
The
okay.
the fallacy of the impartial developer. Well, I'm a developer and I can sling code. Cool, but here I am. I'm now in a mortgage company, and I don't know. Like I don't know any of the processes. I've got no preconceived notions about how any of this stuff should work. So really, I wanted to sit down and watch some people interact with the software and understand the
Yeah.
flow. Like how does one operationally crank through a mortgage? And in this case, it's taking data from the customers, analyzing it, punching in things that didn't automatically transfer, yada yada yada. So like data entry. There's a lot of data entry.
Yeah, that's cool because you're able to actually combine your onboarding for understanding what your role is there with also kind of like keeping an eagle eye out for, oh, this person does this, you know, to see how you can help make their lives easier at the same time.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
a
great
nice
point
combo.
that we should bring in. Your onboarding is a great time to shadow people. I think we mentioned it the last time, but like truly, but when you first get onboarded, like I said a few minutes ago, where you don't have a lot of work yet because you're brand new.
Right.
This is a great time to learn the business, which is something you should absolutely do anyway.
It's probably the easiest time for you to learn because yeah, you're not swamped with stuff yet. You have an excuse for being slow or
Mm-hmm.
like taking it,
You have an excuse
trying to
to
learn.
ask all the dumb questions
Right. Yeah. Because you're
because
just
nobody has any expectations that you know anything because you're brand new.
and you're truly also outside of the any habits that would be forming. As I
Mm-hmm.
was saying last time, what I've seen is people like they're taught this process, maybe the refund process, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is how you refund it. This is what we do when this happens, and you go okay, tap 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 tap, and you do that forever. If that's your job, and because you were taught that, you never reflect on like why am I doing this manually until somebody else comes in and goes and looks at you doing that and goes, how many hours are you spending on this? 40 a week? Okay, let me talk to my guy and see if I can get some time to find a way to figure out what's preventing us from automating this because we can save you a ton of time. And it takes the new guy, or at least somebody new to that context, to kind of see outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way you pass off your paper to a friend to proofread it for you because you're not going to see all the stuff that you're just, you're used to doing one way.
Yeah, and you'll even see things that know that are clearly wrong. So with this mortgage broker example, I was watching the people go, and they were fast because it's data entry, so they're fast typers. And I'd
Hmm.
watch them, and they'd hit a certain form, and they would punch in something, and then they go tap 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 tap, and then they'd stop, and they go shift tab 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 tab. It's like, and I'm just like, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, because the tabs were in a like just totally random order. This is a web form, and the IDs were just completely jumbled. And so it was like
Mm.
first name, last name, and then it was like email. But it was first name, last name, then it jumped to the bottom of the form, then to the middle, then back to and so like
Oh,
they had
geez. Yeah.
some muscle memory to hit tab like 15 times. And I'm looking like, is it supposed to be like that? Like, oh no, this thing's all fucked up. And
Yeah.
so later, nobody like it never made it up as a complaint. I don't think it occurred to people to complain, and nobody asked for it. But I had a person fix it. Right? It's an HTML form, and its ID equals numeric, and like that's how it decides the tab order. And I had a guy go through and fix it, and it took him like 8 hours because there were like 80 or 90 elements, and people had
Mm.
just been copying and pasting them forever.
Right.
And he went through and he fixed it, and literally 3 days later, I got an email from the CEO thanking my team for doing this amazing thing. Like he had
Mm.
heard so much positive stuff, and everyone was so happy and excited that we had fixed the tabbing. And I was like, "You're welcome."
I wonder how long it took for them to stop tabbing 20 times by muscle memory to get it to just the sequential one at a time. Like, oh, dang it. Muscle memory kicked in again.
Probably like 3 days. And
That's a good example, though. Like, you get lost in it. Everyone just tabs. Who cares? You just learn it. You figure it out. And then later,
from the
someone else
developer
comes in and
side,
goes, this is
you
crazy.
don't know that
This
it's
is
important.
so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's a good one.
Yeah, very. I had a project person who wanted to learn to code a little bit, and so this was his first coding assignment. Look at this HTML.
Perfect example. Yeah.
Fix these IDs, put them in order. So it took him a lot longer than it would have taken me, or like any experienced developer. But like he did it, and huge amounts of praise. People loved it, super excited. Nobody asked for it, and but just watching people, you're like, because you know how technology works, and they don't. You can do that, and so I think what we're saying is, or going back to the top to summarize, it's very easy to get started. People are usually very excited. Nobody ever if you're a sports star, people want to watch you do your thing all day long. But if you're an operations person doing data entry, probably nobody has ever in your entire life said, "Hey, can I shadow you and watch how you do your job?"
That's a good point, too. Depending on how boring the job might be from an observer, they might welcome the company.
Right.
Although you can't pull up a chair anymore these days, it seems like it needs to be a
probably can't
virtual
pull up a
chair.
Yeah, but just simply, people are usually very excited if you show an interest in what they're doing. And if it's a big company, you'll need to reach out to some managers. But if it's a small company, just go talk to people. Great time to do it is when you first get onboarded, because you don't have a lot of work and you don't have a lot of preconceived notions about how things should be or are, which just will make it more clear when you see something that's the way it is because it's always been that way, as opposed to something that makes sense. And
don't be afraid to ask questions too. Like, if you see something crazy, don't just be like, "Huh, I guess that's just the way they do it here." Like, that's just a perfect time for you to like, why are we doing it this way? And then like see if maybe they go, "Yeah, it's been broken for a while and people have been complaining." Don't be afraid to ask.
Right. And especially with this stuff where it's been broken for a while and people are just tired of complaining because they don't think they'll be heard. Fixing that stuff, especially when it's easy, is a great way to build relationships and earn some credibility at your job. And, just the reality of work is having relationships is what's going to make or break you in your company. Like, being able to sling the best code around is great, but it's not going to. Being friends with everyone will get you further.
Yeah,
being an okay code writer and being friends with everyone will get you better than being an asshole who writes the most amazing code ever.
I 100% agree on that. And having a point person on each team who's like, "Oh man, Isaac came in and saved me 20 hours of monotonous work because he automated some part of my job I hated, and now my job's not so bad." That's a nice reference to have later, for sure.
Right. All right. I think we can leave it there. Thank you all for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.